This is the Scif 1121 group assignment of Brittany Richardson, Megan Telford and Olivia Smith. We're on the hunt for a scientist to interview.
Teaching is fun. It's effectively trying to understand why organic reactions go as they do.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's everything from new reaction development through to, and particularly what we do is try and understand why reactions proceed as they do in various solvents. So rate studies, making sure the reaction doesn't change if you go from solvent A to solvent B. Because no one understands it. I know that's a really dumb answer, but because you go, why does this happen? No one knows.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, engaging is a nice word, but it's also intriguing, might be the other. One of the things we've been trying to do is develop a way of predicting how these solvents affect these systems. And we're actually getting places. We can now say, okay, this type of reaction will go faster and this is why, this type of reaction will go slower and this is why. But still a long way to go. When I started as a chemist, I found some parts of research very hard, because if you're trying to make something, if it doesn't work, it's a setback, as it were. And in some senses, one thing I like about this is every result is interesting. It may not be helpful, but it is interesting. First year is a general year, so we teach everything. But I teach analytical, organic and physical at second year. Oh God, what's next? I used to teach organic. I teach some organic at third year and fourth year. Graduate students are funny because when they start, they're very, very close to being undergraduates, right? Because they've only just finished. By the time they're nearly at the end of their PhD, they're almost completely independent, and so it's going from teaching almost like you might to an undergraduate through to having a chat with someone who's nearly finished and is effectively driving their own project and stuff. And I suspect I get more out of my senior graduate students than they get out of me. It's probably the classic 40-40-20 model that you might hear of, which is 40% research, 40% teaching, 20% admin and other stuff. So I cycle a lot. There are some days you wouldn't be able to do this interview because there'd be a bike there and stuff just draped all over it. So, like, for example, I was checking this morning because I have to sign up for end of November. There's a bike ride around the north of Victoria, which will be like 600-700 k's in a week. So it's sort of completely removed, and so I'll go and do that. Or there's one in Melbourne I do each year, which is you start in Melbourne, you go around to Geelong and to Queenscliff, catch a ferry across, and go back to Melbourne, which is about 210 k's, and you do that in a day.
Wow.
And it kills you, but it's fun. So there's things like that, or I take Japanese drumming classes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, as I said, you've got to do something completely different. Yeah, partially because, there's no other way to say this, it's what I was good at school. So you tend to enjoy what you're good at. The person I actually wanted to work for when I was an undergraduate as an honours student, a PhD student, moved universities and he moved universities when I had just finished third year, but he found out at the end of second year. So that was when I actually made a decision, right, if I'm going to do this, go on to a PhD with this guy, I need to make a decision now. Now that didn't mean I was going to end up here, but that was one big turning point. It was nice because very quickly you find a number of people who are doing the same thing as you, whereas in school it might have been very small groups, then you have much larger. So that was, on the plus side, it was, I wouldn't say I felt more at home, but there were many more people with similar interests to me. But on the downside, wow, it was confronting for the first 6 or 12 months. There's a couple of things that have changed, I think, dramatically. The first of which is, when I was an undergraduate, if you had a part-time job for 5 hours a week, it was considered, wow, you've got 5 hours a week outside university? Like, no one, very few people had jobs, and those who did was about that level 1 day a week. Mm-hmm. And I used to work through summer to build up the spare cash for the rest of the time, but no, you didn't. When I was an undergraduate, you were at uni 9 till 6 every day, whether you had classes on or not. This is obviously because if you're not working in the evening, you can do that, etc. And what that meant was that people were much more involved with clubs and societies is the first one, but also just in terms of social engagement with the people around them. Okay, graduation is always fun. In terms of the actual contribution of science to society, any scientific development has the potential to have societal benefit or detriment. Mm-hmm. But moving forward, what a horrible expression. I'm so sorry.
Bringing politics into it now.
Oh gosh, I try and avoid that at all costs. But in order for society to progress, for advancements to be made in any form, I don't just mean science, we have to have scientific development which can allow those. Don't limit your options too early, that's the first thing. The second thing is there's no such thing as too much education. I would encourage everyone to consider, sorry, I sound like a propaganda machine, consider what, if you're thinking of taking a higher degree, or this would go for high school students, if you're considered taking a degree, think what the benefits will be afterwards. And almost invariably, if you're thinking about it, you're probably good enough and have the interest to do so. The benefits are usually quite large in lots of ways. I don't mean financial, I don't just mean in the types of jobs you can get, but also in the opportunities that you get offered, and just what you can do and what you can get out of it. It was a very long-winded answer, I do apologise.